Good evening, everyone. Good evening. So my name is Toni Preckwinkle, and I'm president of the Cook County Board of Commissioners. But I didn't start out in life as president of the Cook County Board of Commissioners. I'm a teacher by profession. Teachers in the house, I hope. I spent 10 years in the classroom. I worked for not-for-profit organizations here in the neighborhood and a downtown one focused on employment issues, the Chicago Jobs Council. I spent 3 years in the Harold Washington administration working on economic development. I was a staffer in the Department of Economic Development. And in 1991, on my third try, I was elected alderman of the 4th Ward. And I represented the ward just to the north of here, across 55th Street, for almost 20 years. And I'm very proud of that service. I got elected on my third try, as many of you know. I beat the machine, won the election by just 109 votes. And whenever I talk to students, I talk about the importance of the franchise, the importance of voting. If 100 people that supported me had stayed home that day, I wouldn't have won the election. And when I got into the city council, I was a founder of the Progressive Caucus. I sponsored every single affordable housing and living wage ordinance that came before the body. Every single affordable housing and living wage ordinance that came before the body, because I know that we have to have a city in which ordinary working people can afford to live, and I know that decent wages are important to our families. Every single affordable housing and living wage ordinance. And I was one of 5 votes against the parking meter deal. I wasn't afraid to take on Mayor Daley. In the communities that I represented, I worked very hard to improve our neighborhood public schools, partly because I was a teacher, but also because when people came to my ward and said, I want to move into the 4th Ward, they asked 2 questions. Are the streets safe and are the schools good? We worked very hard to improve our neighborhood public schools with community residents, with CPS leadership, and we made some big changes. Improved the quality of public education for our young people. I also worked to rebuild neighborhoods. I live in Hyde Park, South Kenwood, but the communities to the west, Grand Boulevard, and to the north, North Kenwood, Oakland, Douglas, Grand Boulevard, had struggled for decades with disinvestment and abandonment and neglect. And we worked hard to rebuild those communities. We built 1,500 units of housing, most of it affordable rental housing, 2 senior buildings, so that people who had lived in the community could afford to stay and be well housed. And we also worked with small and medium-sized community businesses to support them, because I know that they're the backbone of our neighborhoods, and they're much more likely to hire our neighborhood residents than the big companies downtown. We expanded one shopping center. We built a new shopping center at 47th and Lake Park. There was a lot of economic development that took place in my communities that I served, and that same kind of focus on economic development we have to bring to other struggling communities in the city of Chicago. And last but not least, as alderman, I focused on making sure people were safe in their homes. Let me just say, everyone has the right to feel safe in their home and in their community. Early in my teaching career, I lost a student to gun violence. She was shot and killed in a drive-by on her own front porch. And her murder left a void in our classroom. There was an empty seat for the rest of the year. And it had a devastating effect on the students and faculty. So I know, personally, the impact that the terrible violence that some of our communities face has on the people who are touched. It's really important that we work collaboratively with the police. The woman who spoke earlier about our police officers, many of them are good and decent people who struggle every day to do a difficult job well. And I worked with police commanders and with officers and community residents to try to keep our communities safe. I know how important that is, and we've disinvested in community policing. We haven't invested enough in supervision and training of our officers, and we also haven't held our police officers accountable. In the city of Chicago, out of every 100 murders, only 15 have a suspect arrested. Only 15. And in the rest of the country, it's 62 or 63 out of 100. So we need to hold our officers accountable for solving the most violent crimes that plague our communities. And I'll work hard, with all of the residents of the city to meet the challenges that we face as a city in this very difficult time. Just as I worked hard with community residents to struggle with some of the same challenges that we face now. The quality of our public schools, communities that have faced neglect and disinvestment, and police-community relations. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to be with you tonight. I'm actually a member of AARP, and I am looking forward to serving you as your mayor, as I served you as alderman of the 4th Ward and president of the Cook County Board of Commissioners. Thank you.